Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nidhi, and I am a second-year doctoral student here at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. And I am going to be interviewing Dr. Mike. I'll go ahead and let Dr. Mike introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. A lot of you know me by Dr. Mike, but technically I'm Dr. Michael Saussaye, but everyone in the program knows me as Dr. Mike. I am glad to be here and looking forward to answering these questions.
Yes, I'm really excited as well. Well, I guess the first question I'm going to ask is who inspires you?
Oh, wow. So in the big picture, like in general, in life,
Yes.
I would say I wouldn't choose one particular person because seeing this question before and we talk about inspirations in our lives, to me, it's people in general who are willing to sort of face their fears and insecurity and work through their traumas. And I'm really inspired by people who are willing to do the work and help themselves evolve. And honestly, I'm inspired by kindness. I'm inspired by people who can find kindness in the world, even with all the struggles they've had. So it's kind of a collective from which I'm inspired, more so than one individual, because everybody has their own unique story, and each story can be inspiring in its own way. So kindness, genuineness, authenticity, and that doesn't always have to be pretty. It doesn't always have to be polished. It's not all rainbows and sunshines. Authenticity is what inspires me.
Yeah, that's awesome because I feel like we get so stuck in finding one avenue sometimes to follow or get motivated by. But the idea is to grow from our community and people around us. And that's sometimes what inspires us.
Absolutely, it's always changing. It's ever flowing as well.
For sure. And I guess to switch into something that has like the biggest impact right now, I was going to say, what is a favorite line of yours from a movie?
Oh, wow. That would, I mean, here's a loaded answer that we get in therapy is it depends. It depends on the mood that I'm in. That caught me off guard. I mean, I know there's
I know.
yeah, I would have to kind of scan. Um, I know there's one from Shawshank Redemption about the bird that flies away. I can't come to it on my
Mm.
mind right now because I'm put on the spot. But that one really inspires me. I'm trying to think if there's any other sort of movie quotes. There's been so many through the years.
Yeah.
Let me reflect on that and get back to you because I don't want to pull out my phone and Google
Of
it.
course. No, I mean, it's all good. I feel like it's so hard to remember. I feel like I remember characters sometimes from movies and honestly animated films that are great
Mhm.
life-wise.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and it's the ones with the allegories and the idea of even Castaway with Tom Hanks of he could stay on the island forever for the rest of his life, but he had to face his fears, and he had actually given up and surrendered and just gave up attachment to his own life, and then the idea of and then
Yeah.
one day a sail washed in upon the shore, and the
Yeah.
symbolism of that sail gave him the courage to live again and move on to the get off the island. So it's those allegorical quotes that really kind of resonate with me.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I think like movies like that have quotes are like deeper meanings. And at the end, also that movie caught me off guard so much, but it's great to be like pushed and kind of like thinking about things past what we see right in front of us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Speaking of advice, what do you think is the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received, and where did it come from?
I think the most valuable piece of advice I've ever gotten was from my paternal grandfather. He was a businessman many, many, many years ago. And when I was a kid, he always told me, he said, you never want to look down upon anyone, and you never want to let anybody look down upon you. Don't ever let anybody put you in that situation, nor don't put anybody in that situation. Keep everybody at your level with the same level of respect. And I think that's something that's kind of stuck with me through my entire life. It's not allowing myself to be intimidated, but also remembering to meet everybody at the same level because we all have our own struggles, we all have our own stories, and so that's one that's really stuck with me. And just the idea of understanding that people are people. It's really
Mhm.
our stories are our stories, and we can find that sort of common ground.
Yeah. I feel like that's the basis of also the counseling field.
Mhm.
You're bound to always end up in this field.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's it feels like looking back in retrospect. There's so many things from my life experiences, my childhood, my parents that sort of preconditioned me to be in this field, which is really nice. And I didn't notice until I was actually in the field because I didn't actually set out to be in this field. Just kind of was serendipitous.
Right. I think so many people always ask therapists or counselors, like, why did you get into this field? And I know personally for me, I'm like, well, I just kind of did it. But
Mhm.
reflecting back after being in the field, like you're saying, there's always so many indicators that you were going to be good at this, right? Whether it was like people saying, like, wow, you can really listen, or look at you being not as non-judgmental.
Mhm. No, absolutely. I feel like the universe has sort of pushed and pulled me in all the right directions, despite my own,
Hmm.
self-destruction through the years. The universe, the right doors have opened and the right doors have closed. And I tell my students and my supervisees, some doors are going to open, walk in and explore them. They may not be right for you, but check them out. And then if you don't like it, try something else. And so luckily I grew up in a home where that was encouraged to sort of experience, to not shut something out first, but actually give it a try. And it may resonate, it may not, but you never know until you actually go in that door.
Right. And I think that's really good advice. And I think exactly what I mirrored to my clients as well. I'm like, even if you're not spiritual, religious, whatever you believe in, I think sometimes things happen in the way they do for whatever reason and end up, setting you up for the next thing that happens. And all of this sounds like a great, great Disney quote. So, what do you think is one of your favorite Disney movies or songs?
Oh, Disney songs. Wow. I'm old school. I mean, I go way back. And so
Well, some people believe old school Disney is better than new
old
school.
school Disney, I let me say, I mean, I hate to go to the Frozen Let It Go. I mean, but the message of that is just so it resonates. Frozen is one of those movies that because I was an adult, I was probably in my
Hmm.
40s when it came out. I was so like, I don't want to say negative or bitter, but skeptical of Disney.
Hmm.
I was, oh, so corporate, this and that and all that. And I watched it. I was like, oh, that message is pretty cool. And I liked it. And I liked the movie and it resonated with me. And that was another sort of learning point to say, you're never too
Hmm.
old. We have these preconceived notions. So,
Right.
Disney songs, I would say, my brain is scanning. I would say I really like the message of Let It Go.
Hmm.
I really like going old school to the Jungle Book and the bear, the bear philosophy. What's that song? The simple bare necessities,
Hmm.
and then you move forward to like the later years with the Little Mermaid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's all so catchy and it's all so enjoyable, and they all have their own
Hmm.
messages behind them. So I think if I had to choose one for now, again, that goes back to like my favorite quotes. I would have to sort of sit down and reflect upon it. But yeah,
Love it.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I'll stick with that for now unless something else comes to mind.
Sounds good. I was gonna say, like as an adult watching Disney movies hits different. So you
It
learn way
definitely,
more every time.
it definitely does.
Okay. Well, to switch gears again, I guess what was the worst job you've ever had?
Oh, the worst job. That word worst is so subjective, in terms of,
Yes.
my worst experience on the job versus I've learned something from all the jobs that I've had. My least favorite job was working in a bank. I worked as
Mhm.
a bank teller for 2 weeks. I went through the training for 1 week and I lasted another week. And there was just something about customer service. It's ironic because as a therapist, I love working with people face to face, but being in the customer service industry where it was just a different vibe and that just didn't set well with me. So I have a lot of respect for people who could do that. I've worked in restaurants before, but wait staff, people who can do the front of the house. I mean,
Mhm.
so much respect for people who can put up with other
Definitely.
people's junk, so to speak. And so I would say my worst job that comes to mind is being a bank teller for 2 weeks. unless I sort of repressed and blocked out the other bad jobs. I mean, I'm standing
Fun.
beside, I worked in construction many years ago. I worked as a security guard, a security officer. I worked as in many restaurants working in the kitchen. That's how I learned to cook.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to that, to be in a bank teller and being there and interacting with people all day long. It stressed me out beyond belief. And of
Yeah.
course, that was 25 years ago. So even
I,
more, so that's way in the rearview mirror.
yeah, but it's clearly standing out on your memories for a reason. So
Mhm.
we'll accept that.
Definitely traumatic, definitely traumatic. And so, yeah, because also being younger and new to the workforce, I had that
Right.
cognition, that mindset of, oh, you chose this job, now you have to stick with it. Such that, oh, if we want to go down the CBT angle of thing of this I should stick with this, I need to do this. And
Right.
that I really had to fight against throughout my entire career and sort of like job search through the history, so to speak.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I think everyone when they're younger believes they have to do something. And looking back, you're like, did I really need to do that?
Exactly, exactly. And how much of that really does hinder our
Hmm.
peace and joy and happiness. And so again, it was a good learning lesson, but a not so positive experience.
Do you feel that the new generation has a different take on sticking it out?
Wow, I feel like that makes me definitely feel my age by asking the new generation. Yes, I do think that the new generation has a different perspective or philosophy on it. However, I'm not one of those old school people that thinks their philosophy is wrong. I respect the philosophy of any generation that says, I don't have to do this. I want to choose
Mhm.
something different. And so I think sometimes that gets a bad rap. And that's one of the things I really like about our field is, yes, I'm a therapist, but there are so many paths we can take within this with our
Mhm.
degree and with our doctorate degrees, even our master's degrees. This is one of the fields where it's okay to actually try out different sites. Like, for
Mhm.
a year, I was working substance abuse. Oh, I learned that that's not for me. Let me try working with trauma. Okay. And so I think I respect people who are willing to say, this doesn't feel right for me, because one of my mom's quotes to me growing up was, a lot of education is learning what you don't want to do more so than what you do want to do. I think
Mhm.
one of the mindsets is, we're too busy searching for what we do want to do. And I see that with students, especially right before graduation, master's level students about to go off a license. I have to find my population
Mhm.
and my theoretical orientation. And I'm like, no, that will find you. Just go in,
Right.
experience it, see what comes up for you. So I live by that philosophy. A lot of life is learning what you don't want to
Yeah.
do more so than what you do want to do. So for the younger generation, yes, I think with anything, there's a paradigm. There's a not paradigm. What's the word? Spectrum. There's an extreme, and so if it's so extreme that you don't want to do anything and you want to just, that's your choice. But if you're searching and you're just trying and letting things go,
Mhm.
I'm all for that, because speaking from experience, that's what I did. It was just over a 30 plus year time span of trying things and saying, nope, not for me.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
1000% agree. I think that I tell, especially in our field, I tell everyone you learn so much from also not enjoying something as much as enjoying something.
Mhm.
And I mean, I learned so much from just getting into that uncomfortable zone of what I thought I wouldn't like and ended up making it a specialty. So I think we go in with so many presumptions. And I always tell everyone, try everything before you figure out what's your thing, because you really be surprised by what you're really good at.
Absolutely. And sometimes the universe opens doors for you that you never knew even existed.
Right.
And you're like, well, let me go see what this is. And so it really is cool to learn to trust yourself and,
Mhm.
what resonates with you.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of, then, when was the last time you had to ask for help?
Oh, I don't have any issues asking for help. I would say probably last week, 2 weeks ago. One of the beautiful things about our department and my colleagues and the people I work with are that we're always helping each other out, because we always have different specialty areas. We all have, if some of us are better at this, some of us are better than that. And so I have colleagues that I go to on a regular basis where I am totally comfortable saying, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea, how to do this. Sometimes technology stuff, sometimes it's stuff on Canvas or class. And so I would say realistically, probably sometime this week. I mean, asking for help has, I don't frame it as a negative thing or an uncomfortable thing. I frame it as a universalizing thing. It's sort of
Mhm.
a give and take. We make it safe for other people to ask for help when we're willing to ask for help, and it's framing it in such a way that it's more of an exchange of information. And when we ask other people for help, that really is a sign of respect for what they're doing and their expertise and what they know. And when we're willing and capable to ask people for help, I find that it's just a lot of respect because it's like, all right, I'm coming to you, one, because I trust you. Two,
Mhm.
I know you're not going to like mock me for asking for help.
Right.
And three, I think you're the one who could help me figure this out. So I would definitely say this week. Yeah. Even today, before we started the video, I asked you about how to record
Yeah.
on Zoom. And so even that in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form is asking for help.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that because, someone who's studying to become a counselor educator, I feel like it can be scary, despite specializing and being a licensed counselor, to like enter this whole new field of education. And I'm hearing a lot of like, it's all about trust and collaboration as a counseling educator and being able to like lean on each other. So that's super helpful and makes it less scary for us out here on the other side.
I'm glad to hear that. 100%. Nobody in this field, at counselor educator or counselor, is ever going to be an expert in every single
Mhm.
area. And we have to learn that it's okay to even to tell our clients, I don't know. I don't know where this is going. I don't. This is your story, not my story. Let's
Mhm.
flip the cards over and see where this takes us. And it's even okay to say, let me consult with some of my colleagues who know more about this. Let me
Right.
figure out. And I find once that becomes normal for us, it takes a lot of our anxiety and our fear away. Going back to that cognitive distortion we were talking about earlier, that I should have the answers, I need to have the answers, and that idea, especially where you are in your training with the PhD and working on the dissertation, all the hoops you have to jump through, we put so much pressure on ourselves of once I'm out in the field, what do I need to know? What does it need to look like? And we just have to learn to surrender and trust the process, trust
Yeah.
ourselves, trust our colleagues, and find that group of people we can trust, and that group of people, sort of our go-to people, our inner circle, so to speak, professionally.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. And I'm sure me and everyone in my cohort's going to appreciate hearing this.
I'm glad I'm not too far removed from where you all are, and it's again, it's everyone has their own individual journey, and I think the important thing is to lean into the fear and lean into the anxiety. I think especially in Western society, the educational system is so much from preschool, kindergarten, first grade. It's jump through hoops. It's like do this, jump through the hoops, get the A. Do this, jump through hoops, get the A. Do this, jump. It's all performance based. And what I really like to train my students with when they're in the master's program is let's get rid of the performance philosophy and let's get into the authenticity and genuineness philosophy. I want to know who you are. I don't want to know, can you regurgitate this stuff from the book? Yes, you need to be able to apply the materials, but also we have to learn to shift away from that sort of academic jumping through hoops more to who am I authentically? How can I integrate and implement these ideas that I learned in the school? And that's what's going to help us all as therapists out in the field. You got me started on something that I really have a lot of,
No, it's okay.
passion about. So, I love,
No,
I
I
love
agree. No, I think it's awesome because I do agree. I think like, especially as someone in the counseling education field, it's all about finding your own voice and like figuring out how you can like present and create a space for others to find their own voice as well in this field.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a mentor say that our job as students, we're not to mimic or model ourselves after them, nor don't try to be the next Carl Rogers, don't try to be the next Young, be who you are. And I think
Right.
that when we give our students permission to do that, it
Mhm.
frees up a lot of place to sort of exhale and be like, really? Are you serious? I could just be who I am, person first. I'm like, yeah, you absolutely can. That's what's going to get clients to come back to us.
Yeah. Where do you think is, what do you think is the greatest need for advocacy within our field?
The greatest need for advocacy within our field. In our field of counselor education or in our field of counseling?
You can
That's a
pick
trick.
whichever.
I think social justice across the board. I think leveling the playing field, creating more opportunities for education, more, multicultural awareness, more immersion, more and culturally across the board, because I think there's so many presumptions and misperceptions and ideas, and you can't learn about other cultures through books and through one multicultural class and one multicultural assignment. And I think even the idea of multiculturalism becomes sort of, it just gets put into boxes, and I think people start to check off these boxes. So I think the biggest advocacy in the field is learning, helping everyone to expand beyond our own worldviews, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, because we can get trapped in our own little bubble. And I think wherever it is most uncomfortable for us to go, I think that's where we need to go. And I think in our field, especially in counselor
Right.
education, we need to create safe spaces for these conversations to happen. And we throw that word around, casually, safe spaces, but genuine safe spaces where we can have these hard conversations, to ask the hard questions, to have curiosity. And that comes with trust. And I think that has to be built up over time. But I think that's the biggest advocacy is leveling the playing field across the board from top to bottom.
1000%. I think there's so much work around even just the how the system works already within counseling and providing counseling to people, but also what we're learning and how diverse our knowledge is right now. I guess there's always, yeah, I think it's an ongoing like process for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And getting beyond the idea of multiculturalism has to do with like culture, ethnicity, place of origin, fam. No, I mean, culture could be anything. What is the culture in a particular city? You're from the southern part of the city. What is that culture? You're from the western part of the city. What is that? And I think expanding that view of multiculturalism beyond just this idea and making it just part of the process for us.
Yes.
A
Yeah.
big, I'm not sure how we haven't accomplished it yet, but I think having the conversations gets it sort of more normalized, so to speak.
Yes. And I always say it's like through initiatives like this where you get to talk to someone else and just get the ideas out there really helps other people. And, it's the small conversations that make big waves.
Absolutely, I love that small conversations that make big waves, and I learn more from my clients, than I ever did in school. And so, and that again comes with the trust. It's like when you're in that sort of trust bubble, it's like, oh wow, okay, thank you for letting me into this sacred space and hearing about your experiences. Some of them are very hard to hear, but these are things outside of your cultural experience and personal experience I would never even be aware of. So absolutely keeping it as part of what we do, integrate into our entire schema as therapists and counselor educators, and not just as a box to check off in what we're doing.
1000%. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. I think that's all I have for today.
Absolutely. That was 10. That went by fast. So
You
I
did.
probably
I
got
don't
about
know.
20 minutes, 23 minutes.
Yeah, it
So,
goes by really fast, but I know everyone's going to enjoy watching this video, so I'll go ahead and stop it before we can kind of check in. But thank you.
thank you very much.